Coming back to Columbia with all this work in hand, it's a little bit like running the film in reverse. And it's like bringing my kids back to where this is where your father grew up. My influence at Columbia was not only through the Jester, but it was also through the coursework and through my peers, my friends, who were all literarily inclined. I seemed to hang out with people in English and in the liberal arts rather than the sciences. And Columbia at that point, and probably still is, a hugely literate, articulate group of people. And somehow the words and the literary aspect of drawing cartoons became as important as the drawing. Well, when I first came to Columbia, I was intrigued by the fact that there was a campus humor magazine, The Jester, which at that point had a long tradition as a kind of incubator for a lot of people who had gone on, talents who had become kind of national figures, and cartoonists as well, like John Held Jr. and Charles Saxon, most notably. I had started drawing when I was in high school, and I was just dabbling and playing around with cartooning and with drawing, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but somehow that magazine here, The Jester, made it extremely plausible for me to continue what I had started in high school. In the process of starting to work more and more from a freshman on, I started to develop whatever was in my mind and whatever was in my hand. Just slowly, bit by bit. It was kind of like coming out of the ooze. First it was the snout, and then the ears and the eyes. It was, the whole question of how I was going about my work and what I was really interested in. The development was unplanned. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kept at it. And in truth, this is, I can almost say, subsequently, 55 years later, I sort of know what I'm doing. But I'm not exactly sure either. I started working very small. When I was a Jester, they were tiny because I was not a draftsman in any significant way. So it was tentative. And my sense of scale, the scale has increased as I've gotten on in my career, as working along with drawing. And so I started out with Jester, in small drawings, because that's what I knew how to do. Part of it was the material, in fact. It was a crow-quill pen and ink. And a crow-quill pen makes it's kind of painful to work with in a way. It's slow, and it's very detailed. So I really didn't know that much about drawing and materials and size and scale. The crow-quill pen was all I knew, so I used that, and it lent itself to working very small. It didn't dance on the page in the same way that I discovered later I could do with different kinds of materials and different kind of instruments. Say, what I use now is a pen or a series of pens, depending on their width, that allow the hand to just play much more freely on a piece of paper and react to the paper. Drawings got bigger as I started to get more adept, and also I think at the time in the 70s there was a sense of scale. There was a whole attitude towards scale wherein paintings, sculptures got much, much larger, and the wall was to be considered, and somehow that influenced me. And then I started to draw larger and larger and larger because the details and the feel of the hand and the way my hand worked on the paper, it was more comfortable. Getting the kind of expression and the kinds of details and the kinds of color in the drawings that I really felt comfortable with. And now I would be extremely, that's my comfort range. I can't go back. This relationship of pen and hand and brain has always fascinated me because there's no answer I can give to questions of development and how, when I started out, I would end up here. I have no clue. It's a kind of evolutionary process. I've controlled it, of course, to be sure. I've brought all kinds of increasing knowledge to the work, but I'm still mystified in a kind of nice way about how it all works. And when this hand, people say, how do you do it? I say, it's this thing, it's the hand.